Okay. You good?
Just loading to Facebook now.
Are you in the...
We're on.
Hi.
Welcome, everyone. Here we go. Welcome, everyone. Welcome again to day one of the Global Happy Homes Summit. We've got round 3 today with the amazing Elizabeth Walker. And Elizabeth, I'd love for you just to, for those people who don't know you, who might not have been able to read your bio, just to give a little bit of an intro of who you are and what you get to do in this world.
So I'm actually going to do something a little different and just go, I'm just a mom. I'm just a mom who followed her passion, followed her dreams, and did what felt right. And that's the real essence of my bio. I can impress you with things like I've been an Australian champion, and I can impress you with things like I'm the, host and inaugural speaker for Success Resources' first women's event called The Seed. I can impress you with a whole lot of names that I've hung out with, like Gary Vee and Richard Branson. But the essence of it really is that I'm just a mum who went for it and who kept going for it. And I think that that's probably really important. And it's definitely, for me, what's more impressive. Like my skills in motherhood and my mindset in motherhood and my relationship in motherhood and my feelings and emotions and all of that in motherhood are far more impressive to me than anything that I've done external to that.
I really love that, because isn't now the opportunity to actually feel, think, and understand that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also a time where there's a lot of mums freaking out. Like I've got a lot of women clients, and they're all homeschooling their kids right now. And I, by choice, homeschooled my children for 2 years when they were younger. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And I'm hearing all these parents going, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to cope. But it's a very different way of homeschooling. Like they've basically taken a school curriculum and gone, here, let's do this at home. Where in fact, in the classroom, they'd never get through the amount of work that they're sending home to people. That's just what was scheduled for the day. They don't always get through it. Whereas when you intentionally homeschool, we did distance education with our kids when we lived on an island. And when you intentionally do it like that, you actually schedule what's possible. And it only took 2 or 3 hours a day. And my kids came back and got really great results in all of their testing and stuff. It was fine. And my advice really on that, because I decided to open up with that, is if you can cook with your kids once a day, if you can take them outside and do some form of gardening or science experiment, if you can get them on something like mathletics, where it's competitive maths programs with people all around the world, then the rest of it doesn't really matter. They're not going to go back to school and be the dumb one because you decided that you wanted to have a great relationship with your kid instead of yelling at them all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I think that that's a really cool entry point, because we'll go here for the minute and then we'll revert back to some other stuff. But, you're working with adults, right? And you do a lot of, obviously you're a trainer in NLP, so neuro-linguistic programming, for those of you who've never heard that before, and a lot of mindset stuff and a lot of mind work for adults. And it always comes back to parents and connection, right?
Yeah.
So, it's interesting when you bring that up, is like school work, but in actual fact, it's just not that in long term, is it? That
it's really not that important. And anyone who's an educator will probably have a go at me. So just to clarify my educational background, I've actually got 3 different degrees. and I went down the educational pathway, and then I've got a whole lot of other training that's not degrees that is still very valuable. So there's value in education if you like it, if you want it, and if it's being taught by someone who you connect with. The problem is what's happening right now is we're expecting parents to be teachers And children are confused at the identity shift that their parents are making. So where their parents might have been the person they could talk to and the person they could always say, it's okay, you know, if you don't understand that, we'll work on it slowly at home. Now their parents have turned into the teacher, where they're going, you've got to do this, we've got to get this done. Come on, hurry up, sit down, be quiet, let's do this, focus. And it's not what they're used to seeing from their parents. So there's a lot of kids that are actually a bit confused with the whole shift. Yeah. Even though some, like, and I'm talking teenagers as well, even though they're quite well aware of what's going on in society and why this has to happen, they're still confused with the shift that their parents are having to make. And parents are, I'm going to say this, I tend to go down rabbit holes and I tend to just say what other people won't. Parents are actually not enjoying doing this. And the reason they're not enjoying doing this is because a lot of them have a limiting belief about their own intelligence. So they sit there and look at the work and go, oh my God, I don't even know how to do this. How can I teach my kid how to do it? And it's actually, all of it's irrelevant, because what's important is that your relationship is good. No one ever comes to me. The main thing I do private coaching in is trauma. And no one ever comes to me and says, I'm traumatized from what I learnt or didn't learn at school. They're traumatized by relationships. They're traumatized by things that did or didn't happen in their home. And so now's a really important time to realize that this is a chance to connect with your children and connect with your own stuff, because the reason that your kids are triggering you through this process is because there's something missing for you. Your kids are just a projection of you, and they will do as you feel and think, not necessarily as you say.
Completely. Yeah. Yes. Often our words are irrelevant when it comes to our children. It's far more beneficial to ensure that our energy and our way of being is saying what we inherently want. And unless we get that right, then our children know they're the most intelligent beings that there are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things I've spoken to before a lot about with parenting is that we don't own our children. Our children are a gift that's given for us to look after for a very short period of time, given our life cycle as a human. So, you know, they're gifted to us. We've got approximately 7 years to look after them well. What happens after 7 years is we then get to care for them. And around the time, particularly with boys, around the time they're 16, they'll disconnect from all of that. With girls, it sometimes lasts a bit longer. And there's periods where they come in and out of our life, but we don't own our children. And attempting to enforce our ideals and our dramas of, if I don't get this done, the school won't be happy with me. If I don't get this done, I'm going to be a failure for my child. That's all the parents' junk. The kids don't need to own that. We don't own our children. We don't own their mindset. We don't own what they get to choose for them. And a child, you know, this is the reason you're allowed to take your children out of school to travel if you do distance education. A child traveling and doing 2 hours of schoolwork a day learns far more than a child that sits in a classroom for 7 hours a day.
Completely. Yeah.
And, you know, at school, they always go to the lowest common denominator. You can only move as fast as the slowest student in a class. You know, so for some parents, if they've got kids who are super excited about learning, they're having a breeze because it is only taking them 2 hours because the kid is running the show. And I think what we need to remember is that this is your child's life. It's not your life, it's your child's life. And you need to actually get rid of your own junk so that you can appreciate them for where they're at rather than looking at them as a projection of you.
Yeah, perfect intro. Thank you. Thanks for sharing all of that. And there's a lot in that.
I have a tendency to go down rabbit holes and just open up the whole cave.
Then, pooh, everything is open. So I guess the worst thing that can happen during times like what we're experiencing now is that we feel like we're alone in it and that we're just so stuck in our own stuff, our own fears, our own beliefs, and feeling like we're completely isolated and alone. So what I would love to know from you, and I've been asking everybody because, you know, we're all the people that have a lot of access to so many families at the moment. what themes, issues are you seeing for your clients and the people that you're working with at the moment in the last couple of weeks with all of these just dramatic changes?
Yeah, so I've got an interesting client base. So there's three main themes at the moment. One is money, because obviously people have either lost their jobs, have had reduced hours imposed on them, or they're just generally worried about money anyway. Yeah. The second one is homeschooling. So a lot of the women are concerned about homeschooling. They're also concerned about the fact that they run a business too, and normally they run it in school hours. And their husbands, and this is a gross generalization, but it is what's present for me in my client base, their husbands run bigger businesses that bring in more money. And so the husband's at home too, but the husband's not sharing the load of the children. So the mother is left to do all of that and try and keep her business afloat. So that's the second. So we've got money, and then we've got the homeschooling issue. And then the third one is the amount of conspiracy theory and fear and anxiety surrounding that. So every day I get a message from someone with a brand new conspiracy theory. Liz, have you heard of this? Is this real? Is this what's happening? You know, is it 5G? Is it Q? Is it the technocracy? Is it, you know, what is this? Why is this happening? Is it vaccination? Is it, you know, there's all these theories. And this really comes from a place of uncertainty. Because people believed that they had certainty before. Yes. Now, there is no such thing as certainty. We never know when a cyclone's going to hit. We have a little bit of a predictive warning, but not a lot. We don't know when a tsunami is going to hit. We don't know when there's going to be massive hailstones coming out of the sky. We don't know when the government's going to enact bail-in laws on your bank and take all your money overnight. These are all things that existed prior to COVID-19. And no one was worried about them. Everyone had this false sense of security and false sense of certainty that they believed was certainty. And because of that belief, it allowed them to feel safe and secure. What we have now is, oh my goodness, my belief is not true anymore. And when we have a belief that's not true anymore, if it's not replaced with another belief, it puts us in this unstable position where there's, you know, this rocking sort of thing happening. And so the feelings are coming in waves for people. So it's okay, everything's good. Actually, not a lot's changed in my life. And then the wave comes and they sort of get bowled over about it, and they go into what I would call affect. So being at the mercy of whatever's happening to them rather than being in control and responsible for themselves. They go into this effect and they go, oh my God, all this stuff is happening. And what if I can't pay this? And what if I can't pay that? And I've got a few clients that are property managers, and they're fielding phone calls from people who are renting going, what if I can't pay? Well, at the moment you can pay, so leave them alone. They don't need the extra work of trying to figure out, you know, what they're going to do if. Sure. There's a lot of ifs going, like what ifs going on in the world right now. And the what ifs are creating this uncertainty, which is an agitation. What I find exciting about that is that with all the work I do, I know that prior to change comes agitation. You don't get change from a position of stagnancy. You get it from a position of agitation. And so the agitation's exciting to me because it's like, cool, there's changes coming. Now, do I know what the changes are? No, I don't have a crystal ball. No one knows what the changes are. Do I understand the virus? Yes, I lectured medicine at Sydney University for 4 years. I understand the virus and the virus structure very well. And I also believe that your mindset and what you hold in your body is the main determinant as to whether you would catch any disease. I would even go so far as to say that certain diseases are caused by conflict. In fact, let's just go there. Like cancer is caused by conflict. I'm going to say that. And that's a big, bold statement to make. And if anyone wants to know more about that, they can contact me and I'll deal with it. But a virus is caused by fear. So the virus doesn't exist as its own entity. It exists as a structure of cellular material outside the body. When it enters the body, it needs to have the correct environment in order to be able to infect the body. And what that means is there needs to be a breakdown somewhere. When you're in fear, your body goes acidic. And when your body's acidic, what happens is viruses are more easily able to grow and multiply and create symptoms. So the biggest way of managing this is to recognize the agitation as a precursor to change and find that exciting, rather than looking at it and going, oh, I'm fearful of this. Because what you're fearful of is something that you don't know. It's the future. So anxiety, it's called anxiety, right? Fear of the future is anxiety.
That's right.
You can't have anxiety other than fear of the future. And the future hasn't happened. The future's not real. The future's not guaranteed. And so people are experiencing this emotion that's not even real. Now, symptomatically, sure, they may be having real symptoms, but the actual basis for it is flawed because it's stuck in their language and the words they're using. And this is how I work. I work linguistically. So when we look at, okay, well, how can we get out of fear? The antidote is love. Okay, how can we experience love when everything around us that we thought held us safe is crumbling in our eyes, right? I don't think it's crumbling at all. So, but if we're feeling like that, how do I experience love? Well, it's a choice. It's a choice to look at your kids and go, okay, instead of yelling at you about not doing your work, we're actually going to go outside and play in the backyard and make mud pies. And I'm going to talk to you about how dirt dissolves in water, and how it still looks muddy, but it's now a liquid. And then if we dry it out in the sun, it'll then become a solid. Like, that's science. Teach it that way. And there's all these things going on where this overwhelm of stuff that's happening to parents right now is actually just testing their resilience. It's testing their energetic capacity. So how much energy can you cope with?
Yes.
And it's also allowing them the opportunity to recognize the things that they need to deal with.
Yes.
So this is allowing the stuff to come up. So when we're sitting in certainty and stagnancy, nothing comes up. When we move to agitation, it's like everything comes up to the surface. And so, yeah, there's more fighting going on in homes. Yeah, there's more stress about money. But these are really great red flags for you to go, okay, well, how can I manage my money better? Because anyone who's working in a job where they get paid every week, if you can only pay your rent for 1 week, then what are you doing? Where's your saving? Where are you overspending? Where are you overcapitalized on your mortgage if it's your mortgage that you can't pay? There needs to be some kind of movement of money, because money's energy, where either you're saving it to move into something else, or you're allowing it to release because you know it's going to come. Now, if you know it's going to come, then there's nothing to worry about in terms of money. If you're saving it, then there's nothing to worry about in terms of money. But if you don't believe it's going to come energetically and you're not saving it, then you've put yourself in a really difficult position when something like this happens. And that's something you need to take responsibility for. So you need to go, okay, I own it. I own that I haven't been saving. I own that I've lived a lifestyle beyond my means. And start doing something about it.
Sure.
I've gone way off question. So
no, that's all right. I think I think you've raised a really important point. Well, you raised many. But what rang true for me then, and I think this is a really fabulous realization. I think it's in fact true, but in that when we come up against such adversity, then the dial just gets turned up completely on the issues that were already there. So these are not new. And the work that I've been doing with clients is actually, okay, well, where was this showing up before? It's just heightened at the moment. So this is our fantastic opportunity to dig deep into that and kick it to the curb. Okay, what needs to be done right now for this so that it is gone as soon as possible, because it's just the dial's been turned up, that's all. And it's showing so much so now, because once we're in fear and anxiety, everything else just comes to the forefront.
Your unconscious mind is going, oh, okay, you don't feel safe. Let me show you all the other places where you don't feel safe so that we can deal with this safety issue and be done with it.
Absolutely.
So it's serving a purpose for people.
Absolutely.
What's important with kids right now in that space is that kids actually need to see parents who are willing to do the work, so that kids develop resilient patterns, so that kids are okay to face their problems, so that kids know it's okay to go, oh my God, actually, yeah, we haven't been saving, or oh my God, yeah, I don't know how to cook and now I have to. I saw a funny little YouTube video yesterday of this little girl in the UK whose mum told her that KFC and McDonald's was closed now. And she starts crying, and then she goes, and what about the Chinese? And then she's like, no, the Chinese is closed too. And then it's like, and what about any takeaways? She's like, no, all the deliveries, all the takeaways are closed. And this kid has a meltdown. But if that's what the child's used to, then you can see that this is just another example of change. And the meltdown is clearly how the parent responds to change and has taught the child to respond to change. So it's how we create change and how we manage change ourselves that allows our children the resilience to manage change themselves.
Yes. Yes. And for me, as long as parents are okay, children are okay. And that's why, working on ourselves is the key priority as a parent. It is the best thing you can do for your child at any given time. Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess what's your go-to approach for everybody watching at the moment that maybe is experiencing that overwhelm, is experiencing that stress and that fear, all of these scary feelings, they will feel scary at the moment. So what's the go-to approach to start practicing? Because this is a practice. It doesn't happen overnight and you're an expert in your mindset. So what would be your advice for these people to create a healthy mindset at the moment?
Yeah.
Feel safe.
There's a couple of exercises that work really, really well. Mm-hmm. One is gratitude journaling. Now, you say the word journal and people think they have to write an essay, and that is not how I do journaling. The way that I would teach people to do journaling is before you go to bed at night, have a Post-it note or a scrap piece of paper next to your bed, and you just write down 5 things that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And in the morning, you screw it up and throw it out. Now, this is a piece that's often missing. The reason you screw it up and throw it out is because you've done gratitude for that. It's finished. It's now time to approach a new day looking for new things to be grateful for. So that's the first one. The second one is a little bit more left field, and it's meditation. And everyone is probably saying, oh, I can't meditate. I don't know how to meditate. This is so hard. Find a really simple meditation online that you like. There's lots of them. Just find one you like. Make it a 2-minute or 3-minute one. It's ridiculous to suggest that someone goes and does a 1-hour meditation right now, because if they've never meditated before, then an hour sitting listening to a drony, slow voice with pretty music is going to drive them insane. So just do 2 or 3 minutes. The reason for that is you just get to turn your head off for a little while. Yeah. The other thing is doing something that uses your body. So exercise is really important right now. It's about being in your body, not in your head. Jumping in the water if you live somewhere warm is important right now. Again, to be in your body, not your head. If you're not somewhere where you can jump in the water, but the idea of water excites you, then do a 3-minute cold shower. Now, I do a 5-minute cold shower every morning. And I also use it if I start to feel as though, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do. My first step when I feel like I've got lots to do is to go and have a 5-minute cold shower. And I'm talking fully cold, no hot on at all.
Okay.
And the reason for that is it actually shocks your external system, allows the blood to flush to the primary organs, so your heart, your lungs, your gut. And then as you start to warm up, it gently releases and allows any toxins that are in your body to be let go of. Yeah. That's important because when you're busy, you need all the health you can get. So that flushing procedure works really well.
Yeah.
The other thing I would suggest is if anyone has Netflix, and I don't recommend much on TV often, there's a really cool series called Goop Lab.
Yes.
And it's
how great is it? It's so good.
It's really good. It's Gwyneth Paltrow and her company.
Yeah.
And there's loads of exercises and ideas in there. And the reason I recommend it is because it just gets you thinking differently. And part of the problem when we feel like we've got certainty and then certainty is removed is that in order to recreate it, we're using the old thought patterns and the old ideas to try and create the new. Yeah. In order to create the new, we actually need to be looking for new ways of thinking. We need to be challenging our thoughts, challenging our ideas, challenging what we do. And so you can't use the old way to create the new. You must have a new way to create the new. And so watching something like Goop Lab is going to push some people to their edges and think, oh, wow, do people really do this stuff?
Completely.
And the answer is yes, lots of people do it, and we know lots of people that do it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's an interesting series to just challenge the way you think.
Yeah.
What I would be avoiding in terms of TV at the moment is anything that talks about pandemics or viruses or alien takeovers or anything that goes anywhere near any of the conspiracies. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is happening in real life to real people in the present moment. There are people who are sick in hospital. Are they sick because of a virus? Well, my theory would be that no, they're sick because of their mindset. However, what they find in the body during that time is the presence of this virus. And so whichever causes it doesn't really matter. The presence of this organism is there. So I feel as though by doing the gratitude, by doing a meditation, that's enough of the actual mind work you need to be doing now. And the key is in the body. So it's doing the body work. It's the exercise. It's, normally I would tell people to go and have a massage. Obviously we can't do that at the moment. But what you can do is really simple, is when you get out of the shower, get that moisturizer that you got as a Christmas gift 10 years ago that's still in your cupboard, get it out and just, gently upwards, right, towards your heart, just rubbing gently like that, nice and long strokes, not like this, and just gently rubbing up towards your heart, and the same with your legs, and just taking that time to be present with yourself in that moment.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's things like that that are going to be helpful right now.
Yeah. And just on that body space, there's a beautiful technique called havening.
Yeah.
Right. So just like this, and you just need to close down your eyes. And the second you start doing it, I get tingles down my spine. So this is just a beautiful way to feel that loving, soft, gentle, safe sensation in your body. Somebody's hugging you, you're being soothed. Yeah. So if you do feel so stressed, that's such a beautiful way to calm your body and your mind. It works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, I think you touched on it before, and I'd really like to dig into it because the power of language is crucial at the moment. Yeah. And I'd really like to go into that because I think if we can start to be aware of our language and start to alter our language a little bit, we will start to see huge differences in our immediate reality. So can you touch on why language is so important? What it is in that?
So words create our reality.
Yes.
Our reality doesn't create our words. So what we speak, we will find. So if we're constantly saying, I'm so stressed, I'm so stressed, I'm so stressed, then our unconscious mind is looking for stress and it will find it because it's very effective. So if we constantly say, I think I've got coronavirus, I think I've got coronavirus, then you'll probably end up with it because your unconscious mind is looking for it. It's looking how to create what you want. Your unconscious mind is like an obedient 3-year-old. It needs to be told lots of times what to do, but it will do it very effectively once it's been told. And so if you're constantly saying, I've got no money, where's the next lot of money coming from? I've got no money, then you'll be in a place of always seeking money instead of being grateful with what you already have. Yeah. So these distinctions in linguistics are just what we're speaking. When we go deep into linguistics, we have to start looking at the meanings of words. And so if we look, when we say I'm anxious, and we really look at that word, and we look at the word excitement and look at that word and the definitions are actually very close. So anxiety comes with symptoms of fast heart rate, breathing in the upper chest, constriction in your throat, sweaty palms, and things like that. Excitement has all the same symptoms. Yet we choose to label it anxiety because we think we'll get sympathy from someone. Whereas if we say we're excited, we might get hounded by someone. Well, I would rather be hounded by someone and choose a reality that's exciting than to have everyone happy with me and be living in fear and anxiety. So the choices of words that we use are really important as well. And if we look at something like lockdown, the word lockdown, it has a really scary connotation. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, there was that movie with Sylvester Stallone in it called Lockdown, which was quite a scary movie for anyone who's my age. You know, bad stuff happened and it wasn't supposed to happen.
Sure.
So there's that. There's an association, because our mind's really good at making associations. The other thing is it implies that you need a key.
Yeah.
And at the moment, the key has not been revealed to society.
Yes.
So people are feeling trapped. And when you say down, that's a clear indicator that we're going down in vibration, that we're going down in our energy, that we're going down in our money, that we're going down. Like, so lockdown is a horrific word to be using right now. And what could we use instead? Well, we're just being told to stay home as much as possible. That's far less dramatic than lockdown. But the media is taught to use dramatic words in order to impact and influence. But really all that's happening is you're being told to stay home.
Yeah.
It's not this big dramatic lockdown, right? And even the way you say it, no one says, oh, lockdown. They all go lockdown, as if it's like, yeah, lockdown. Like this is this thing. And so this creates a meaning. And when we create a meaning, we create attachments. And when there's attachments, we isolate ourselves. So then we talk about, you know, social distancing. Do we really need to be socially distant? Or would it be okay to just don't stand more, you know, closer than 1.5 meters to anyone? Why do we have to label all of these things? Because it's the labels that create the problem. Yeah. If someone said to you, can you just stand 1.5 meters away from everyone? That's like, yeah, okay. But if someone says you've got to social distance and stay 1.5 meters, then we're creating this meaning around the words that is not effective and it's not the truth. So, you know, some of the other things are the measuring of the deaths of coronavirus. Now, these are just standard World Health Organization statistics. But why are we not measuring those that survive? Now, we are measuring it. We're just not publishing it, right? But people are talking about, oh, did you know that there's 3 more deaths in Australia last night? Did you know that there's this many cases in Australia? Well, I've done a comparison of the statistics between the Southeast Queensland in terms of influenza per month over the last year and COVID-19 per month over the last 3 months, because it has actually been in Australia since January.
Yeah.
And when you do those statistics, we are nowhere near the danger levels of influenza with COVID-19 yet in Southeast Queensland. Even as the whole of Australia, we're not. But that's not what's being published. What's being published is we've got this many things, this many deaths, this many cases, you know, this much of a rise. Now, why are they important? Do we need to contain it? Yeah, sure. Is staying at home a great idea? Yeah. But wasn't staying home a great idea anyway? When flu was around?
Yeah.
Like, it was. You know, oh, we're not allowed to go to work when we're sick. Well, at what point did someone decide it was okay to go to work when you were sick? And this was where capitalism, you know, took a bit of a liberty. They said, no, you come to work because if you want to be paid, you're going to come to work. And so humans forgot to look after themselves and valued money higher than themselves. And by doing that, what they created is this need and it's a lack of money, basically, so that they need to go to work even when they're feeling sick. Well, when you feel sick, how about you honor your body? And I'm not talking about the kind of sickness like, oh, I've got a headache and don't want to go to work today, or I got drunk on the weekend and have a hangover. I'm talking if you've got a disease process going on in your body, it's okay to not go to work to stop other people getting it. Because chances are at your work, you're going to get it because the mindset of the people that you work with is similar to your mindset. That's how you ended up in that job. So their mindset is going to allow them to catch it too. And these kind of things that I'm talking about can be proven when you put a whole lot of people who've got amazing mindsets in a group of highly infectious people and the people don't get sick. Yeah. You know, Wim Hof is an example of this, where he actually got injected by bacteria, and because of the breath work he does, he didn't actually get sick at all. And in fact, he'd eliminated the bacteria from his body within 12 hours. So there's scientific method to back up what I'm saying. The main thing is as we think about the language that we're using, we need to choose our words. A lot of what we say is not relevant. A lot of what we say is filler, or it's to please someone, or it's not a relevant word. So think about what you're creating as you speak. And question yourself with, is this going to benefit anybody other than me?
Yeah.
So if you get to say, oh my God, I'm so stressed, who is that benefiting? It's not benefiting you. It's not benefiting your kids. It might benefit you through secondary gain if someone feels sorry for you and says, oh, really, you poor thing. It doesn't fix it. It doesn't make the stress go away. So did you really need to say that you were so stressed? And then the argument for that is, well, what about honoring our feelings? Yeah, sure, honor your feelings, and then change the language. You know, okay, I'm feeling really stressed. Oh, that's not a great word to use. All right, what I'm actually feeling is this bit of tightness in my chest and my throat, and a bit climbing on my hands. My heart's racing a bit. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Without the defining label.
Sure. Without the overarching label. Okay, got it. So, you know, like you said before, it really is coming back to the body every time. You know, we think we're really complex beings a lot of the times, don't we? You know, really complex. And I have this conversation with so many clients all of the time. You know, you like to think you're very complex, but we all are the same. You know,
we're just another animal, and we have animalistic tendencies, we have animalistic behavior, we have animalistic bodies. And what do animals do when they're stressed? They either run around or they take time out. Why do humans not take these examples? You know, either get in your body and run or rest.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. And I think the language piece is really important. So, you know, for those of you watching, just I wonder today where you could alter your language. You know, it doesn't need to be perfect straight up, but, you know, where today can you alter your language compared to yesterday? And just noticing, right? Just becoming aware is key in that, absolute key. So I'm just going to double check because I think a few questions came through, Elizabeth, actually. So let me see if there's anything we can answer for these people. Okay, so there was one that came through when we're talking about homeschooling, and I think this mum is concerned about integration into the world into the real world after homeschooling, right? And I suppose, you know, there might be that fear for this transition too. So how do you transition from now back?
So if a child has anxiety or like separation anxiety in particular, and now they're allowed to be homeschooled, it's reasonable to be worried about the transition. And again, I suggest to the parent, are you doing the work on yourself to show your child how to behave? And I say show, not tell.
Yes.
Okay, it's very different to tell your child, but to show your child how to behave when this sort of stuff's coming through. How are you managing this change process that's going to teach them how to manage that change process in the future?
Yeah.
In terms of that transition back, there will be some families who don't.
Certainly.
There'll be some families who go, oh, actually, this is not that hard. I always thought it would be hard. It's actually okay. So let's just keep doing this because my child's coping better, you know.
Absolutely.
Particularly for very fast or slower learners who are not in that, you know, bell curve. The people at either end of the spectrum are going to benefit greatly from homeschooling because they get one-on-one attention, and that's exactly what they need. So, yeah, that transition back is about how are you managing this time to show your child how they can manage that time. Even if you think they're too young to understand, because we're not telling, we're showing.
That's right. Yeah, it's still sticking. It's still sticking. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll finish with, I'm finishing with two questions, but I first want to ensure that, in that it's very clear moving forward. We did touch on it, but I just want to solidify it. So in order to make it out of this thriving, right, healthy, well, peaceful, having a happy home instead of a stressful home and an anxious home and a worried home and a fear-based home. So what is the key takeaway, the key 1 point, 2 points, whatever it is, to start transitioning into calm?
Yeah, the gratitude and the 2 or 3 minute meditation every day.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Easy. All right, wonderful. So the final two questions then, Elizabeth, actually, if people want to get in touch with you first, they've liked what you've said and they're interested to find out more about the work that you do in the world, where can they get in touch with you?
So they can connect with me on Facebook, and I suggest you send me a message. Okay. Friend requests tend to go missing if they're not accompanied by a message. So that's one way. I'm also happy to put a link in here. At the moment, I'm offering 15-minute free coaching calls to anybody. Yeah. So I'll put a link in under this live once I'm off this live, and I'll throw a link in there. If someone wants to connect that way, they can just book a call with me and we can have a chat that way.
Yeah, perfect. So the first question is, so for you in your personal world, personal life, what are the opportunities in this current climate for you? What are they?
Oh my goodness, there are so many opportunities. So you want my personal opportunities?
Yeah, just like, what are you finding that's just, it's an opportunity? And this is
we always have a vegetable patch. Okay. And everywhere we live, and we only moved to Queensland I think 10 weeks ago, so our vegetable patch was planted straight away, but this has actually made us think, well, maybe we should plant a bigger patch. And so we've actually added another 2 gardens to that vegetable patch during this time, which I love, because I love watching things grow and I love seeing the fruit of your labor. So that's the first one. The second one is, as a business, we have moved some of our business online, which we've been talking about for ages and waiting and seeing, can we do it? How do we ever have the time to do it? Well, now we've got time to do it and it makes sense to do it. So from a business perspective, that's been an awesome opportunity to get stuff online. In terms of my kids who've had challenges through this, like one's an apprentice and had a job and was waiting on his license, and then Queensland Road cancelled all driving tests. So he was supposed to get his driving test this week and start his job, but he couldn't do it. So having my kids around the house, they're both teenagers, and well, actually one's just turned 20 today, but they're, enjoying that time where I can just sit and talk to them.
Sure.
Where they can come and chat to me. That's been awesome.
Yeah.
And then the gratitude that comes from having made a decision, because when we decided to move here, it was literally a decision that took 4 days from the time we decided to the time we moved in. I didn't actually go home. I wasn't at home. I was at an event and Simon packed up the house. So that gratitude for where we live, we live on the water. We've got a beach that is our backyard. We've got a pool out the front. We look down to the city, down the waterways. And so that gratitude of just going, thank God we did that at the right time.
Yeah.
So,
perfect. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. It's important to have our focus on the opportunity right now, I feel. And so that's the intention behind that question. And the final one to finish us off, Elizabeth, is what is a happy home to you? What does a happy home look like and feel like to you?
I define home as wherever I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's about being happy within myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm happy, my whole house is happy, whether I'm at home with my family, whether I'm at an event with people, whether I'm at a meeting or at a training or whatever I'm doing.
Sure.
If I'm happy, if I've invested the time, the money, and the learning in getting myself happy, then my home is always happy.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And I'm so grateful that you've spent the 45 minutes or so with us today. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you brought up so much there. It's so wonderful. It was power hour. That's what that was.
And it's about, the reason I do that is I want people to think differently.
Yeah.
Society's very much telling us how to think right now.
Yeah.
This is about thinking differently. And so lots of things come up because it's like, oh, I could think like that, or I could think like that, or I could think like that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. The most fun you can have with someone is challenging their identity. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Elizabeth. And thank you all for tuning in to day 1 of the summit. It's been an incredible day. And I will touch base with you this afternoon to do a wrap up. But Elizabeth, have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
And see you later, everybody. Thank you for joining.